actually helping Vasudev write a book. Those of you who know Vasudev here at the Bhakti Center. The book is a translation and commentary on one of the Upanishads. The Upanishads are like the philosophical headlines of the Vedas. The Vedas are a vast collection of writings, and the philosophical essence is found in the Upanishads. Among the Upanishads, there are generally 10 or 12 that are considered the most important. Among them, one is the Ishopanishad, which Srila Prabhupada translated and we have available. And another is the Katha Upanishad, which is what we're working on. There's there are many important instructions in that Upanishad. So many important instructions in the Katha Upanishad concerning the nature of the Atma, the self, distinguishing between the self and the external covering of the self. The external covering of the self is the body. The body comes and goes. The body is compared in the Katha Upanishad to a chariot. I don't know, maybe today we'd say a Tesla or something. But in the Katha Upanishad, it's compared to a chariot. And the self is the passenger who's occupying the chariot. And there's a difference between the car and the person in the car. And so there's a difference between the conscious self and the body in which the conscious self finds itself. So that distinction is made in the Katha Upanishad between the self or Atma and the body, and also between the Atma and the Paramatma. The Atma is the individual self, and the Paramatma is the supreme self. In the Katha Upanishad also it's said that one looks for that supreme self deep in the cavity of the heart. Not the physical heart, but within the realm of consciousness, a deep hidden place. A deep hidden place. That we'll talk about more. In the Katha Upanishad it said, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Nameteya Bahuna Shutena. That Paramatma is the supreme divinity, the form of the ultimate, the absolute truth, Krishna. And that Atma can't be reached just by pravachanena. Pravachanena means by explanations. We can talk and talk, but that won't necessarily bring us, it's not sufficient to bring us to a true understanding of that Paramatma. Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhya Nameteya. And not by intellectual exercises. Well, it could be this, it could be that. This philosopher says this, but that philosopher says that, and this idea and that idea, and it seems to me, and it logically follows. We can go around and around and around and around and around and wind up nowhere by that approach. In the Mahabharata it said, No. Let me think where that is. Let me think which text I'm thinking of. Achintyu kala ye bhava nat tarken yoje. Natam tarken yoje. The meaning is that tarka means logic and arguments. And achintya means inconceivable. That which is beyond the power of the reach of our thought. So the text says that there's no use arguing or logically trying to figure out the inconceivable, because it's inconceivable. So, not by logic, not by just attending lectures, not by just, yes, by these methods, but by revelation. Well, that seems, what should we say, rather, all right, great, we sit here and we wait for revelation, and we'll understand something. But there's a process for revelation. In summary, the divinity reveals himself to those whom he pleases. If you have some big politician or big movie star or something, you can't just walk in. But when he's pleased, who's that person? Then, all right, come on. Some man is working in a big factory. He can't just go walk in and see the boss. But if the boss comes to know that this fellow is really dedicated to the company, he's doing all sorts of great things, then the boss himself may say, who is that guy? Call him over here. So divinity reveals himself to those whom he chooses. And whom does he choose? Those who are dedicated. Those who are dedicated. In the beginning, dedication means just dedication to the truth. There are so many who are dedicated to falsity. They're dedicated to that which is vapor, which will not last, which has no substance, but which they're totally focused on. And that means they're pursuing illusion. They're pursuing illusion. Let's trade in this illusion for a better illusion. But there are those who are not satisfied. Actually, the Katha Upanishad tells of a young boy. I won't go into the whole story. But he has a question. What is the nature of the self after death? What is our nature after death, and what is the nature of the Absolute and our relationship with the Absolute after death? He has these questions. And the person he's asking says, don't ask those questions, ask for something else. I've given you 3 boons, so you've got 2, good, but don't ask for this one. I'll give you chariots, I'll give you wealth, I'll give you beautiful girls, I'll give you estates, I'll give you, don't ask about that. Ask for something else. Whatever you want, just ask anything else. And the boy says, no, that's my question. You can keep your chariots, keep the girls, keep the whatever else it is. You're giving me 3 boons, this is the one I want. So Yamraj, the person he's asking, is pleased. Yes, you've passed the test. I offered you all sorts of useless things, and you you've seen that they're useless, and you're actually looking for the truth. So in the beginning, we may not know what the truth is. We hardly have an idea of what the truth is. But we have a pretty good idea of what falsity is. There's a philosopher, maybe it was Schopenhauer, and someone else maybe said that. Not quite sure what this world is for, but I'm pretty sure it's not for enjoyment. Pretty sure it's not for enjoyment. It doesn't work. So the alternative is that this human life especially is meant for realization of oneself, for spiritual realization. And in the beginning, we may not have a clear picture. Why should we? But by sincere searching, I was just recalling that when I was about 16, I happened to have an encounter with a Catholic priest. And I was basically teasing him. I was a young skeptic at the time, so I was teasing him about his, not terribly teasing him, but and whatever he was going to tell me, I wasn't going to buy. So he could see what he was dealing with, a young skeptical smart aleck. And so he wasn't going to waste too much time on me. But he said, let me leave you with something. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. So these are profound words. If one is sincere, if one is seeking, then from within the heart, Krishna sees this person is looking for me. And he arranges things in such a way that we can make spiritual progress. Seek and you shall find. So that's the first thing, to be actually looking. Who am I? Why am I here? Why am I going through so much suffering in this world? What should I do? The dogs don't ask themselves these questions. The pigs don't ask themselves. The horses, no one, the lower species don't ask themselves, why am I here? Why is life so troublesome? That's the business of human life. And we're told that something else is the business of human life. Advancement in your career, advancement in this or that, philanthropic work and charitable work and changing the world and making it a better place and so many other things. But not self-realization, that's a waste of time. But that's the real business of the human life. So the beginning is to have some interest, some desire to know about this, some sincerity. Ado Shraddha. Shraddha means interest. And just like here, maybe you could be out in a bar and grill someplace down the street, have a few beers or whatever it pleases you, but you've chosen to come here out of some interest in some spiritual topics. And that's the beginning, to have an interest. And then the next thing is to seek like-minded association, or to seek the association of those who are also interested in reality and the truth. Those who are following a path meant for spiritual advancement. That's called sadhu sangha. Sadhu means a person who's interested in Sat. Sat means that which is real, that which is eternal, that which is good. There's, dictionaries got lots of meanings. But if it's not real, it's not good. If it's not eternal, it's not real. In the Vedic conception, real means it continues to exist, not that it's here for a flash and then it's gone. That's not real. Like a sand castle. It may be gorgeous, but it's not real, because it won't last. So, sadhu sangha means to seek the company of those who are seriously interested in the eternal, or better, those who know something about the eternal. If we only associate with those like us who are looking but haven't really gone further, then we'll stay where we are. Maybe we'll make a little progress, because at least now we're out of the, what would you say, the mix, the muck, the crowd of those who are wasting their time. So automatically that's better, we'll make progress. But if we find the association of those who are seriously pursuing the truth, who've adopted some methods for spiritual progress, then we'll make quick progress. And then the next thing is, well, let me do the same thing. Let me take up some method that will help me in my spiritual progress, that will purify my mind, that will purify my heart, purify my consciousness, free me from the illusions that have brought me again to this world, lifetime after lifetime. If we, or just that are sticking, if we don't have a conception of lifetime after lifetime, whatever it is, here I am, stuck. So let me take something that will help me move forward. And then we'll find that the unwanted things in our hearts are cleansed away. Srila Prabhupada called this a gradual cleansing process. A gradual cleansing process. Some means by which a little more clear, a little more clear, a little more clear, a little more clear. Like a mirror. You get a totally dusty mirror and you look at it and you see dust. But by gradually cleaning the mirror, we can see more and more. Finally, we look in the mirror, you see yourself. So as our consciousness becomes purified, we can gradually see who we really are. We can see that I'm not what I see in the ordinary mirror. This age, this weight, this height, this color, this. And we see that I'm not this body, that I'm the spark of spiritual consciousness within the body. We can see that by a gradual process. The more the heart becomes purified, the more clearly we see. So then we make further progress. We become detached from the things that we thought were so important, that were actually weighing me down and blocking my forward progress. And we become more attached to the path of spiritual realization. And this goes further and further until one reaches the perfection of self-realization and the perfection of God-realization. That's, of course, a big topic. But perhaps to bring things around, this chanting that used to be over there, is a simple means for purifying the heart, and a very powerful means for purifying the heart. It may sound like ordinary music, but it's a transcendental vibration, a transcendental sound. Going deeper into it, it's the absolute in sound. That's the way the Vedic teachers would explain it. That the sound and the absolute are not different. Materially, sound and substance are totally different. If I sit here and chant water, 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 my thirst will be just as strong as it was before. Thank you for reminding me. Because water, the sound, and water, the substance are different. But the absolute substance and the absolute sound are identical. So, therefore, it's said that the absolute has limitless names, and by vibrating any one of those names, one becomes purified, one approaches the absolute, one associates with the absolute. Even if we don't understand that that's what we're doing, that's what gradually, that's what's happening. I'm associating with divinity by sound. And the rest is just a question of realization, which is made possible by continued chanting and hearing. Simple things, just Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. 3 sounds, Hare Krishna and Rama. Doesn't get more simple than that. But by vibrating these sounds with attention, with sincerity, with a desire to reach a higher understanding, we find that our hearts become purified. And we find that we're becoming elevated to a higher level of consciousness. So it's effective, it works, you can test it. Go home and test it, and stay here and test it. You'll find that an ordinary sound, you'll get tired of chanting water, 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 water. But this Hare Krishna mantra, you can go on chanting and chanting, and you'll always find newer something, newer realization, newer understanding by chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. It's good for the beginners, and it's good for the most advanced transcendentalists. The most advanced transcendentalists go on chanting this mantra from a platform of deep realization. And the rest of us chant from whatever level of realization we have, but it helps us advance powerfully. And therefore we take this simple method and we recommend it to the world. And maybe I'll stop there and see if you have some questions. Some thoughts. I wonder what might be bubbling up here in the mind. Oh, he's an easy guy. Yes.
I was wondering, I know you were here right in the beginning, right in this neighborhood, and I was wondering, what was the experience of the chanting at that time? It's so brand new for everyone.
What was the experience of chanting at that time over at 26 Ekinam in the 1960s? Same as it is now. It doesn't change. And what experience we got then, same experience people get now. It's not what's the word? It's not contextual to a particular time or a particular place. What we're getting by chanting here in New York now, they're getting the same thing by chanting in Russia. We're chanting in Kiev, we're chanting in London, we're chanting in Santo Domingo, many places. It's the same. That's the meaning of absolute. It doesn't depend. It's not. Oh, this is an Indian chant. It's like saying Indian gold. Gold is gold. Not that I only take, American gold. How silly is that? Gold has the same value everywhere. So the experiences will be the same everywhere. Yes. Yes?
Earlier you mentioned like the dirty mirror starting to become...
I'm half deaf, so if you speak up a little louder.
I'll try,
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned the dirty mirror it starts to become more clean as your consciousness expands.
Mm-hmm.
But a follow-up thought I had to that is, even though it becomes more clean, the consciousness is more aware, so it feels like the thoughts are like, it's even more. So even though the consciousness has expanded, the awareness of the thoughts, like negative and positive, becomes more as well.
Yeah. So it seems to be a problem. We're cleaning our consciousness, but the cleaner it gets, the more we see what a mess our minds are.
Exactly.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a little, yes, but that's good for us. The person who doesn't see what a mess he's in is in really deep trouble. Once we start to see, we're better off. So it may be alarming, it may be disappointing, it may be frustrating, it may be whatever it may be, but at least we've got our eyes in our heads and we're starting to see what's going on. That's good. And then we can also make changes. I'm doing this with my life, that's stupid. That's just stupid. That's not helping me at all, it's holding me back. It's clouding my consciousness when I'm trying to clear my consciousness. So then there may be some things I'll give up. This is contraindicating, it's contradicting what I'm trying to do. Drugs, for example. Yeah, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm purifying my heart, and then I go out and smoke a cigarette or smoke something else, and throw dirt on my heart again. So what am I doing? So let me give this up. One thinks, what's more important? And there's so many other things, in that bag of things that we really don't need and aren't helping us. So we can make positive changes in our life. I'm going to this place and I'm hearing these stupid people rap and say, whatever's on their mind when they really don't know what they're talking about. Let me go someplace and hear from some reliable source. Just like, there's so many people who write books about spiritual realization, and they really don't know what they're talking about. They're bluffing. They write well, some of them write abominably, but some of them write well. But it's all, I think, it seems to me, I've come to understand, blah, blah, blah. But it's just, the guy standing next to him, well, I've understood something different. Everybody's got his own pony show. And this book becomes popular, and then it goes out, and that book becomes popular, and then this is the, for a while it's M. Scott Peck, and for a while it's Herman Hesse, and for a while it's Paulo, whatever his name is, and then for a while it's somebody else. But but the while is not usually all that long. But when you look at, say, Bhagavad Gita, 5,000 years in running, because it's not just I think. These are mature realizations of great sages, one could say, or one can simply say that they're the words of Krishna, the Supreme Divinity. So either way we look at it, what we'll find in books like the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, is just all cut above, doesn't say enough. It's way beyond what we'll just find in I think. So then we may make a change. Why do I need a bookshelf full of I think? If I just read Bhagavad Gita, every day I'll find something deeper. I'll make progress. So we can, it said, Anukul yasya sankalpa pratikul yasya varjam. This is a basic maxim for practice in bhakti. What is that? Anukul yasya sankalpa. Whatever is going to help me, let me accept it. Whatever is going to be favorable for my spiritual progress, let me accept it. Maybe not exactly what I had in mind, it may be, but let me accept it. Because why? Because it's favorable to what I'm trying to do. And particularly yasya varjana. If it's unfavorable, then let me reject it, let me set it aside, let me leave it behind. There may be so many other practices and rules or methods, but you can all put them in one of these, summarize them in these two ways. If it's favorable, let me do it. If it's unfavorable, bad. Because I'm trying to purify my consciousness, then I'm seeing all these things that may not be so happy. Well, let me do something. And these are the two things. If it's favorable, let me accept it. This chanting Hare Krishna will be favorable. And drugs will not be favorable. Oh, let me give up drugs and chant Hare Krishna. The animal, what should we say, killing animals will not be favorable. I want to make spiritual progress. Eating meat, eating fish, eating eggs isn't favorable. I'm trying to make spiritual progress, but at the same time I'm needlessly killing other living beings. Not favorable. Let me give that up. I don't need to, there's plenty to eat in the world. I don't have to eat my neighbors. Yes.
Thanks again, Maharaj. Always delightful the way you preach, to teach. I was wondering about this Upanishads, whether you're translating. Did Prabhupada ever mention that during his lifetime?
Oh yes, it's mentioned many times in his books, this Katha Upanishad.
Did he start translating it during his conference?
No, he didn't translate it. He left some work for the rest of us to do.
Is it the first time that it's translated by somebody like Krishna conscious person?
No, I think there are other editions, even some other Krishna conscious editions. But it's that still leaves room for doing more. One time, Srila Prabhupada was in Bombay, and some gentleman came to meet him, gentleman and his wife, and said to Prabhupada, why are you building this temple? There's so many temples here in India. Why build another one? And Prabhupada said, who's that woman sitting next to you? And the man said, well, that's my wife. Prabhupada said, why did you marry her? And the man was a little flustered, but Prabhupada said to have children. And then Prabhupada said, but there are so many children in India. Right? Why have more children? And then the man understood, yes. So there's so many books, but that doesn't mean that's the end. Even there may be different editions of Katha Upanishad or other books, and that's welcome. The editions by the mental speculators, those who just, I think, I interpret this to mean this, I interpret that to mean that. There are too many of those books already. I think. That means instead of telling you what the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishad says, they'll put their own stuff in there and give you that. Well, that's cheating, isn't it?
Well, the fact that you're translating it means a lot. Because
well, actually it's Vasudev, but the point is that the idea is to present the actual meaning and not my own philosophy. That's cheating. If I try to give my own philosophy, nobody knows who I am, and so I write a book, Bhagavad Gita, and tell you what I think. And come on. Bhagavad Gita, we should tell you what Krishna thinks, what Krishna says, not what I think. If I want to tell you what I think, I should be honest about it and write my own book, and not say this is Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you.
That's,
I almost finished the Gita, and I wanted to know what it says about desire.
But it's what?
It says about desire. You said it is favorable to my spiritual progress.
Desire.
Yeah.
Well, whether desire is favorable or unfavorable, it's going to be there.
Always wonderful.
We can't be without desire, because we're living beings. A living being will have thoughts, a living being will have feelings, and a living being will have desires. Can't stop it. But what we desire, that's the thing. To become desireless is also a desire. Let me have no desire. We'll always have desires, but in material consciousness we desire something temporary, something useless or even harmful. And when we take up the spiritual path, then our desires turn toward, let me become self-realized, let me understand the absolute, let me understand how to become, why I'm here, what my purpose in life is, what my spiritual identity is, what my relationship is with the Supreme. So that's also a desire, but that desire is good. Is that okay?
Yeah. Is that why Krishna encourages Arjuna to continue fighting, even though he had no desire?
Yeah, Arjuna didn't desire to fight. He desired not to fight. So, of course, this is a big topic, but Krishna said, no, this is your duty to fight, and you should do it, but not to get something. You should do it because it's what you're meant to do. And you should do it for me. And Krishna speaking as the Supreme. You should do it for me.
So he's speaking of like detachment there?
Yes, detachment means that the result is not for me. The purpose of the action is not my own gratification, that I'll get something from this. I do it because it's my duty, and I do it to please, ultimately to please Krishna. Is that okay?
Yeah, personally for me, I fell onto the side of apathy.
Yeah, well that's what happens, apathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sympathize.
Cold.
Because material activities mess us up. And so we don't want to do that. They're a mess, or they're meaningless, they're pointless, they don't get us anywhere. Why do it? I don't know exactly what makes you apathetic. I know what makes me apathetic. There's nothing in this for me. Why should I do it? that means there's no meaning in it. So that's this book, by the way. I don't know, who's read the book of Ecclesiastes? Anyone?
It's in the Bible, right?
Yes! Same book. The opening shot, I've written a commentary on the book of Ecclesiastes with two purposes. One is just to give a straightforward exposition of what the book says. I don't want to stick my own philosophy in there and say, really, it means, what I want it to mean. The first thing is, what does it say? Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not. So what is the book saying? And then, how do we look at it from a Vedic perspective? That's what's going on here. And the opening shot of the book is that life is meaningless. Very unbiblical book to be in the Bible. The opening shot is that life is meaningless, that nothing has any purpose, that it's all useless, meaningless, empty, absurd, take your choice of terms. And so naturally we become frustrated or apathetic. There's no use to doing this. My life is useless, my work is useless, my everything is useless. Where does that lead me? So, well, and sometimes that leads us to a sort of voidism, that everything is useless, everything is meaningless, and so there's nothingness ultimately. The ultimate goal is to become free from desires, free from thoughts, free from everything. And then I won't be frustrated, I won't be perplexed, because I won't be anything. I'll realize that there's only nothingness. That's a great place to wind up. That's like spiritual suicide, I had a terrible fever, I'm in pain, and so I killed myself. Solves the problem.
But how do you discern a desire that's good or bad? It could be that the desire is a karmic desire that could lead you to a spiritual lesson or a spiritual growth. So
how do we discriminate? How do we know that the good ones from the bad ones, the ones that are going to uplift us to the spiritual world, and the ones that are going to drag us down?
Sometimes things happen, and you kind of choose something because you have a desire for it, and then it leads you to,
Yeah, we go to something that we have a desire for, and it turns out that it's to be uplifting, but it's hit and miss. Sometimes I wound up going to some place where I wind up in Divya's restaurant, and I have some, something nice, and maybe I meet some spiritual people there. That's what I do one day, and the next day I go off to, you paint the picture yourself, some crazy, stupid place where I get in trouble. So it's hit and miss. And therefore we're advised to associate with saintly persons or with devotees of Krishna, so that the ideas will be good ones. If we associate with fools and thieves, we'll become fools and thieves. If we associate with spiritually minded persons, our tendency to be spiritually minded will come out. If we associate with devotees of Krishna, we'll keep hearing what Krishna says about these things. And that will ultimately help us beyond anything. Is that okay? Okay. Yes?
I wanted to ask about the sadhu sangha that you're talking about in associating with like-minded.
Yeah, that's called the Bhakti Center.
Yes. So in New York we have this luxury of choice, friend groups, subcultures, professional, associates. And it's easy to take cheaply because we can just shop around. So do you have any advice for when we do associate with folks on the spiritual path, to take that a little, not take it so cheaply, I guess.
Well, just take it. It's up to you. Even if you take it cheaply, well, all right. At least you're taking the right thing cheaply. That's a good start. But if you take it seriously, you'll get more from it. You know, and pick a book. If I just read it superficially, maybe I'll get something. But if I take my time and read it carefully, if it really has something to say, then I'm going to get a lot more out of it. So if I'm serious about spiritual realization, or I'm serious about my ultimate purpose in life, then when I come to the Bhakti Center, associate with spiritually minded people, then let me take it seriously. We can just meet and sort of hang out. But if we put our sincere questions, or try to do some service, some spiritual service, these things will help us advance. Make friends with those who are on the spiritual path. That friendship helps us. You know, we say, I don't want to be friends with anyone because my desires will increase and I'll get more entangled. Yeah, better, but make friends with those make friends with the devotees of Krishna. Make friends with those who are practicing bhakti yoga. That will always be good for us. It won't hurt us. Is that okay?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you.
Now, tell me what to do. Do I stop here? Do I take another question?
You can take another question.
Hmm?
You can take another question.
I can take another question. All right. Let's see if I can take it. You have another question?
Oh, yeah, I saw another hand. Okay. So sometimes when we do start to disassociate with people that are quote-unquote not good for our spiritual path, that means a lot of people that were close to us, sometimes even family.
Yeah, if I give up the association of those who are not helping me on the spiritual path, I lose all my friends.
And family, yeah, and family too.
And most of my relatives.
Yeah. And so that period, I think, can be a little challenging when you're sort of in this phase of isolation almost.
It can be a little challenging, but it's not that we just give up. If you just try to give up people whose association is not very good, you're just going to be lonely and isolated. But if you make friends with those who are spiritually advancing, then you'll feel that this is better. This is better. Why do I need friends to drink with, smoke with, talk about useless things with? I can make friends with those who are serious about spiritual progress. That's good.
Maharaj, there's different cultures, different like culture systems, ways of mode of goodness, or how to like associate with people in the mode of goodness, but it might not be recognized with maybe this culture.
There are superficial cultural differences. Maybe there's, I'll just give you an example. It's a little interesting example. In India, typically people will take the dust from the feet of the deity or from the feet of the saintly person. Take the dust and put it on their head, and consider that a way of offering respect and becoming purified. And in Israel, on the doors, there's what they call a mezuzah, where 10 commandments are written. And the custom is when you enter the house, you kiss the mezuzah. There's two different cultural practices. But there's a long existing sect of Jews who have lived for centuries in India, in Maharashtra. And so a group of these Jews came to Israel, and when they'd enter a house, they'd take the dust from it. This was so different cultures have different ways of expressing things, but and we don't. That's not the point. The cultural, whether we dress this way or dress that way. But the real thing is how we come to understand our spiritual nature and the spiritual nature of divinity or of God, and how we understand our relationship with divinity, with God, and then how we act in that relationship, how we cultivate that relationship. That's the substance of it. The cultural, that's the package. That's the package. The package is less important than the substance. Is that okay? Yes. Time.
Sorry?
Yes?
Okay. I have one last question for us before we close tonight. First, I wanted to thank you for coming. I know you're very busy and very sought after, traveling all over the world, so thank you for coming as well.
Actually, I'm trying to spend more time in New York. You travel all over the world, and then you say, well, there's nothing like New York.
That's okay.
It's a great place for Krishna consciousness.
Some would disagree, but I'm going to agree with you. So my question is, in the mood of this new year, the idea is kind of having new resolutions, and at least in theory, we take those resolutions throughout the year. But sometimes we feel that things come up and then we fail to live up to that new inspiration. So my question is, how can we, if we accept your hypothesis that adding spiritual life to our lives will embetter it, what's a way where we can add something that we'll hold on to?
Chant Hare Krishna. Simple thing. And if you're already chanting Hare Krishna, chant Hare Krishna more. And then just keep going. Simple.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So once again, thank you all very much for coming here.
Let's give a round of applause for